I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm ready whenever you are, boy.
We're ready, Bram.
I'm ready.
$7.24.
357 Productions is proud to present the Masonian, a monthly podcast for Freemasons with a focus on the Grand Jurisdiction of North Carolina. While not an official function of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, we operate with full endorsement of Grand Master Bryant Webster. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants and in no way reflect the opinions of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, its members, or any appendant bodies. 357 Productions doesn't own this music, but we sure do like it.
Damn Skippy.
And it's just us, man.
It's just us. Man, we're dragging today.
It's summertime.
Riley can turn it on when he wants to, but we're all sitting here pre-production, and we're like all ho-humming, and it's summertime, and I'm in the air conditioning business, so we're just getting our butts handed to us at work. And Brown had a bad day at work, and Riley came dragging in late tonight, and he didn't have a good day at work, and we got the middle of summer doldrums, I guess is what it is.
That's it, man. It happens.
Yeah, every year it's just as hot, and we're tired. We're hot and tired, Brown.
Hot and tired.
So I don't know what kind of show we're going to have tonight. It's just the two of us. We didn't get anybody to come down. We just, sometimes we have somebody and sometimes we don't, and the day we don't. So we're going to talk for a little while and just see where it goes. We don't have much of a plan, but we never do.
And you were telling me most lodges are dark, or a lot of them are dark during the summertime anyway, and different bodies are dark, so
yeah, we just
have a little downtime.
We just came out of being black or dark at Blackmer. I can't even talk today, man. But it seemed like it had been like a month since we had met. It had only been it had been a month since we had met. I mean, we meet every 2 weeks, and so if you skip one, it's been a month. It's good to be back in Lodge, though. We got some degree work going on there. Just our little Blue Lodge, and Matt Gilead's just trucking right along.
And that's great. We were just talking about it just a few minutes ago. I've had a change in jobs, and with the work schedule, it's been kind of tough. And of course, there's always excuses of why you don't make it to Lodge. And it just so happened two of my boys were playing ball, and their games were both on Tuesday nights, and it just was kind of tough. But now that's over, and I need to get back to Blackmer. There's no doubt. I'm sure they're thinking, what happened to this guy?
Maybe we shoot the podcast sometime at the ball field.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Between innings, we go.
You're out, quick, let's do it.
Yeah, we got a couple of guys here recently at Blackmer. We got one that's fixing to start and one that's just nearly finished with the degree work. And there was this thing went around on the internet, all the Freemasons, that showed the guy from Training Day. You know the movie Training Day?
Yeah.
And the meme said the look you get when your friend that you've been waiting on decides to join the lodge. And I had a couple of them lately. I won't call their names, but guys, it's good.
And
to
you
get
were
a guy
telling me it was
there,
awesome.
man.
Those are good guys. They're good names. When you were telling me just a few minutes ago, so it is exciting. I'm glad that's going on. And see, now I'm going off. See. Forgot to sign
R2D2 guest speaker R2D2 R2, what's up?
But still though, it's good names. It's awesome that these guys are in or getting in. That's exciting. So.
Restorations lectures are going on. We just had one at Eagle Lodge that was very well received. Decent little turnout. Those guys, man, they really did us up at Eagle. They had a really great lunch. That's such an old historic building. Love Eagle Lodge. If anybody, that's in Hillsboro. If anybody gets a chance, go by and visit with them.
And Randy he did the presentation or lecture that day.
Yep. So there's three guys that lecture on the restorations. Mike Daniels does one on philosophy.
Awesome, rock star.
Yep. Randy Browning does one on the North Carolina Heroes of Freemasonry, the colonial era guys, and it is just a wonderful program. You've seen it.
Yes, the one that he did at Sophia the other day.
That's the one.
Spectacular. It was awesome.
And Don Barrier does one on the power of ritual, and Don just knocked it out of the park, I thought, Saturday. He was really right on. So those are good. There's only one left. It's at Newbern, and it's going to be by the time this rolls out, it'll have already happened. I think it's on like the 30th.
Now, will you be traveling to that one, or is that a different crowd?
Well, here's the deal. No, I'm
That's
supposed
a lengthy
to go.
trip.
It's the same people that do it every time, and I go, and I don't really have a lecture. I just kind of facilitate the whole thing. So I introduce everybody and kind of do a little facilitated discussion. Yeah. But so the deal is that my family is going to the beach Sunday and coming back the following Sunday. Well, that Saturday is the one that falls while we're at the beach, so I'm not going. Here's the worst part. Randy and Shannon are going with us and their kids. So Randy's going to have to leave on Saturday because he's got a lecture. He can't skip. So
and you're staying.
Oh, yeah, I'm staying. I'm going to stay and take care of the family, the women and the children, while Randy goes and does the restoration lectures in Newburgh. It's like a, I don't know, 2.5 hour drive up there or something. Nothing like Buddy's, is there?
The best.
Anyway, this will be the last one of those for a year. We'll do them again next year, I suspect, just like we'll do allegory and symbolism again next year. But, if you haven't been to these, ask some of your buddies that have. Both of those lecture series very well received, and they'll be coming around again next year. Be sure you can get to them if you can. We always have flyers out and stuff. So that's good stuff. Let me talk about Davy Academy a little bit. So the Davy Academy, we keep mentioning it on the show, and we're going to kind of continue to ramp up the the marketing for Davy as we run up to the October 1st launch date. But it's starting to take a little more form now. Every show I've mentioned it some, but it was more concept when we started, and then it was taking a little form and it's taking a lot of form now. So here's the way this thing's going to work. Most Worshipful Brother Doug Caudill is going to be the boss of this thing, and he has control of the overall operation. Couldn't find a better guy to be in charge of it. He's past grandmaster, great. He owns his own business, so he's a really good manager. Right. Just a down to earth guy.
Some people are just good at being a boss.
Yeah,
and he's one of them.
And he's one of them. So we're thrilled to have him as the leader of this thing. And then there are 4 divisions under that. We're going to have Mike Daniels is running the academics. And so he's developing this entire academic curriculum. And we had kind of, the team that started putting this thing together kind of had an outline of what it was going to be. But, Mike's going to flesh it out. And, Mike has been a corporate trainer before for a Fortune 5, not 500, a Fortune 5 company. So, he really knows what he's doing. So he's working through that. Ken Weichel is looking after the administrative side of this thing, and we're going to try and do a real good job of keeping up with who's been to what classes and have like a database that we can look back and see. And there's a couple where we'll talk a little bit about why we're so adamant about doing that towards the end of the show. Randy Browning is looking after the operations, all the logistics, and he has a whole team. And those guys met here last night at the tractor shed. So, this is the kind of dedication that we have building the Davy Academy. Last night, on a Wednesday night, he met with all of his zone managers. There's 3 zones, east, a west, and a middle zone. The western zone is run by a dude named Tony Rathbone. Tony lives in Asheville. Tony came down here on a Wednesday night, and for a 1 hour, drove 3 hours down here, had a 1 hour meeting, and then drove 3 hours back.
Dedication.
The eastern zone, the operations are going to be run. Let me do the middle one first. So Ernie Barth is going to do the middle zone, and Ernie's out of Fayetteville. So he only had to drive like an hour and a half for this meeting. And then the eastern zone is our buddy Rob from Jacksonville, and he had to drive 3.5 hours to get here. So dudes are doing that kind of driving on a doggone Wednesday night to come up here just to make sure to get this thing right. So, we've been beating the drum that we want this to be a professionally run organization. If you've been to the boot camps were good. The boot camps weren't structured like this is going to be. They were professionally done. I taught at the boot camps. They were great. But it was kind of a more, ease on in and have some classes, and go on home. This is much more of a Wilkerson College style as far as structure and discipline and keeping records and the well thought out curriculum and a progressive path of instruction.
It's almost like college. You're actually going to school.
Actually, Riley, funny you should mention that since you work for the community college. Kind of the way that we're looking at this, and Doc Cates is the one that actually termed this phraseology for us, though. If Wilkerson College is going to be the college, the university, we're going to be the community college system. The Grand Master wants us to go out and get closer to smaller venues, and we're going to do that. And we're going to take this message of being good leaders and good managers of our lodges out to the people, because Wilkerson College is good, but they can only take so many students.
So Wilkerson College he's given the idea that they're university style or a bigger style versus the Davie Academy will be more or less the community college.
Yeah, I don't know if the Wilkerson College guys would say that, but that's kind of it. I mean, that's a more intense training. Sure. It's 3 weekends. It's very intensive. It's drinking from a fire hose, but it's a ton of really good information. Davie is designed for. Here's the way we got this thing designed. Ultimately, what we would like to happen is we have a new guy class. We have a junior officer class that's kind of structured at your stewards and your deacons, Then we have a mid-management class that's kind of your senior deacon, junior warden kind of level guy, either of the wardens. And then we have a pending master class, and getting ready to be the master of your lodge, or maybe it's you are the master. And you really ought to go when you're a senior warden, but that's when you're going, flesh out the ideas that we've taught you coming along. The difference is we're going to teach them at a much slower pace. So because we're going to do this all year long, 12 months a year, moving them around the state, and we're only going to teach one of the classes at a time, you would have the opportunity, as you came into the lodge, as you were initiated, passed, and raised, and you said, what is this thing I've joined? I'd like to know a little bit more about Masonry. You can go to the new guy class sometime during that year, and kind of get a base of knowledge of how Freemasonry works, is how it's structured, and what it means, and just all the things that you guys want to know
and need to know.
Can I go visit another lodge? Well, we all know the answer to that, but when you were a new guy, you didn't know unless somebody told you. So too oftentimes that wise old guy or your coach fails to sit down and say, all right, let me tell you 20 questions here. Here's what happens if you want to go visit another lodge. People are going to yell at you if you break that light between the master. Here's what that's all about. Here's how you ballot. If you got a ballot, they're going to take the box and they're going to put it up there, and you're going to go up there and you stand in line with the other guys, and there's cubes and balls. To explain all those things that we never explained to a guy. So one of them is that class. That's going to be coming to your town, or at least somewhere close to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think
in the first year,
that's a very needed class. We get so caught up in the ritual and what the meaning is, and how do you perceive this, and how was your degrees like? And sometimes we do. We leave out the small details that people need to know.
Yep. So we're going to teach that class in your zone, once in the east, once in the west, and once in the middle of the state next year. And then we're going to teach it in those same zones the next year, and the next year, and the next year, and the next year. So as we have brothers coming along, sometime during the year, we're going to teach that thing in your zone. And if you want to drive to the other zone and get it, you can do that if you miss it. So it's there for you. Then we're going to teach the junior officer class once a year in each zone, every year for as long as this thing lasts. So that means that as a new guy, you get raised and you go to the new guy class. And say they stick you in a steward or a deacon's chair. Happens all the time, right? As soon as they get you raised, next year you're going to be a deacon, mm-hmm. right? You're in line. Well, that year we got a junior officer class for you. And so say you're tired of going to classes, and so the next year you're the senior deacon, and the next year you're the junior warden. You're like, maybe I ought to take that middle management class. We're teaching it that year in your zone. So a year or two later you go to that, and then a year or two after that you're senior warden, and you say, oh crap, I'm fixing to be the leader of this crowd here in 6 months. I better go to that pending master class, or that worshipful master class, or whatever we're going to call it. I don't think we have a name for it yet. And it'll be in your zone when you get ready. So that way you can get essentially the curriculum of Wilkerson College Maybe not quite as intense as that, but you can get most of all that information. But you do it over the course of maybe 5 years. You do one year, skip a year, do another class, skip a year.
Right.
And so so that way it's not the time commitment that you have, in going to Wilkerson College, and it keeps all that fresh on your mind. That's our hope. It's not our hope. That's what we're going to do. We just think it'll work better for some guys. Some guys at Wilkerson College is going to be the ticket for them. Some guys this Davie Academy. So there's a place for both of them. And we're super excited to get it launched. You remember those names of those guys, though, Tony Rathbone and Rob Morrell and Ernie, man. They're really going to do a ton of work. And then we got a ton of instructors that'll be instructing. These guys are just the logistics guys.
But they're heavy hitters, though.
Yeah, they're guys, they are all three guys that get stuff done. How many times do you hear me bitching and moaning about people that sit around and complain or want to do and say they're going to do something, but they never actually get around to it? These guys get stuff done. These guys, if you send them a request, they're going to hit you in the face coming back with an answer.
Oh, yeah,
solution.
absolutely.
I love those dudes, man. Big shout out to them and to Randy, who's going to look after them, and all the guys that are going to teach at Davie. We got there, in order to teach there, you got to go to a train the trainer course. We got Mike's developing those, and anyway, Davie is coming October 1st, and it'll be moving all around the state for years and years to come. So, send your officers to it, send your new guys to it. You'll see lots of marketing and stuff on that coming out later. Wilkerson College, since we're kind of talking about that, we're kind of doing a little bit of planning for next year. Had a meeting here the Wednesday before yesterday with Larry Thompson and Sean Bradshaw. I think it's okay to announce this now. Most worshipful brother Billy Dill, who has been the leader of Wilkerson College for, 10 years maybe. I ought to know this, maybe 10 or 11 years, for a long time, is retiring. So he's going to step aside, and Larry Thompson is going to be the new dean of Wilkerson College. And Sean Bradshaw is going to be the assistant dean. So those two guys came over. We talked about the academic program next year. Some of our classes are going to be leaving. We've got new classes coming in. You're staying, by the way. And I'm really excited about the new classes. I like the direction that we're going. I'd like to thank Most Worshipful Brother Dill for the long years that he put in and the hard work. Congratulations to our buddy Larry and Sean, and I know they're going to be great leaders and carry that thing forward for a long time.
Absolutely.
It's a wonderful program.
It is,
and they're going to be good leaders for it. I'm happy. They're my buddies, and they're great. Going to be great leaders. So it's a good deal for the college, and it's going to be a good deal for the students for years to come. Feel good about where we're going there. And Larry Thompson is a smart guy, but I'm going to tell you something. That Sean Bradshaw is one more just right on time fella.
He is.
He just, every time that I'm around Sean and we're doing any kind of strategic thinking, he just looks at things from a different perspective from the rest of us. He always, when he goes to the whiteboard, we're kind of talking about the same things, but Sean has this ability just to draw it out where it makes perfect sense. And you're like, well, that's what we've been saying, but somehow that makes a lot more sense. I know that doesn't make any sense.
No,
somehow he clarifies things, and he looks at it from a different angle. He looks like it from a student's angle, or he'll look at it from an end user's angle, in a way that I wish I could learn to do that. I'm trying to learn to do that. I'm learning a lot from him. So this isn't just me kissing his ass. I'm just saying that he's a really he's a really interesting way his mind works.
We go through spurts where he and I will talk on email. We might go, a few times we'll talk pretty regular, and then we might go a few months and not talk to each other. But he's on a whole nother level when it comes to stuff, and it's always, I enjoy talking to him. We both have some similar hobbies, and it's just he attacks everything from a different approach. It provides a whole new insight to this, like you said, the same thing that you're looking at, and it's really cool that he has that ability.
He's going to be not only a great grandmaster, he's going to be an interesting grandmaster. You watch.
No,
Sean will not be a normal grandmaster. I
agree.
He's going to. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in his year.
Yeah, like I just see like annual
No pressure,
communication
Sean.
with like strobe lights and glow sticks and turntables up
that
on the
too.
main stage.
Big mouse ears.
Yeah, he comes out with big mouse head.
Solid gold dancers in the background. Don Barry will have a meltdown.
Yes, he will. No talking. It'll be all instrumental, synthesized. All kinds of stuff, man. It's gonna be crazy. Confetti cannons. I can see it, man. Just a rave. That's what it'll be. Annual communication will be a rave.
Bouncers at the door.
Yeah,
The Tylers all be wearing.
It won't be at Winston. They won't tell you where it's going to be until the night before. You're just going to show up.
Yeah, can't wait. I think there's some budget talks going on in Raleigh. I know that just because of the education committee. Right Worshipful Brother Cobb sent a request for the committee chairs to send their budget requests in, so I know they're talking about it. And so just a shout out to the people in Raleigh that are giving out money.
Yeah.
We could use all we could get.
Yes, we could.
You guys are wonderful folks. Y'all are smart and personable and handsome.
Please send your money
Please
now.
send us money. Because we're going to put it to good use for the brothers. I'm sure every committee needs their funding, but at the education committee, we're putting. We think we're turning those dollars. We look at those dollars as an investment in our brothers, and we're trying to provide them good programs that they can turn around and use. So, in all seriousness, give us a lot of money.
Yeah, the old adage: you got to spend money to make money. So,
Yeah.
I mean, prime example.
So let's talk about committees a little bit. So first let's talk about the last time. The last time that we did the podcast, Jonathan Underwood was here, who is the assistant to the Grand Secretary. That's we finally got his title right.
That's right.
What we failed to ask him was exactly how many Masons there were in North Carolina. How many times do we talk about this? And I said, when we get Jonathan here, we're going to get him to tell us how many there are, and I forgot to ask him. Walt called me like a couple of days later. Here's something interesting. I know that a lot of the Grands listen to the show, but I didn't think Walt listened. But Walt listens to the podcast. Walt told me
We're on another level now.
well, that's a whole nother level. Walt told me that he listens to them. He downloads them on like iTunes or something where he can listen to them while he walks in the morning, which shocked me. I'm not sure if I was more shocked or scared or just or honored. I don't know. I didn't know what to think of that. It was just very unusual. More and more people tell me though. Everybody I talk, nobody watches this thing on video. On YouTube. I don't think everybody I talk to downloads it and they either listen to it in the car or like Walt, does it while he's walking or something. So I won't say nobody, but I think the vast majority of our folks listen. So what Walt called to tell me was he couldn't hear Jonathan. Y'all had Jonathan in a hole or something. Couldn't hear what he said. Y'all need to work on your mics or something. I'm like, okay. All right. So anyway, we did have some technical difficulties. We apologize about that, but it was a great program. I hope everybody listens to it. We learned a lot. That was the longest show we'd ever shot too.
Really?
Yeah. We went like an hour and 22 minutes or something.
It didn't seem like it was that long.
Yeah. Well, it didn't live, but
It's also it was just kind of neat to hear what all goes on at the Grand Lodge and all the cool stuff and history that's there.
Yeah, and Jonathan being both our buddy, and we talked about history a lot, and there's so much to talk to him about. He's a guy of such breadth that we could have shot another hour and a half. I mean, we weren't near done. Maybe we'll get him back.
It'd be good.
We'll swap sides. He can sit over here on this.
I don't mind sitting over.
All right, so we were talking about, but the time before that, where I was going with this was the time before that episode. Right at the end, we talked about committees and Grand Lodge committees. Remember, I asked you what committee you were on and how many times y'all had met. And
I know, and I've been
y'all
getting
were
emails
doing.
today about we need to have a meeting.
Well, good. Well, maybe they're just waiting till later in the year, and I wasn't trying to bust on everybody. But
No,
but having been on several committees, Grand Lodge committees, over the years, I've been involved in some that are like working their tails off, and some that are just kind of laissez-faire, whatever, hang out and have your name on the roster. And I think I see some ways that we could improve. And so before we launch into bashing committees again, which is not what we're doing here, we're trying. I see a problem, and I think that we have a solution that we've talked about.
But I already see you implementing that solution. You already have.
Well,
and I don't know that other people see that, but I see where you're implementing your solution. I see you putting young guys who are eager to do stuff in positions that normally would not be given to young guys.
Yeah.
They would be given to, and there's, I don't mean anything negative about it, but it's seasoned veterans that have been in lodges for quite some time or running in certain circles. And I see that you're doing just like we talk about all the time on the podcast, is empowering young guys who are eager to learn and really want to get in there and do it.
And not just have their name on a roster.
Right. They don't care anything about that. They just want to do it.
So the first thing that I think I want everybody to understand is in defense of the Grands, they will tell you, all of them to a man, the Grand Masters and the past Grand Masters will tell you that they have, here we go with our numbers again, but they have a lot of appointments to make. And so if they know 20 or 30 really good guys, or 30 or 40 really good guys that would be hard workers and trustworthy and dependable, and they appoint them, they still got 200 appointments to make between DDGMs, DDGLs, committee members. And they don't know that many people. So they tell me that they need and want a better pool of candidates to draw from. Because what happens now is this. After you run through your first 30 or 40 or 50 guys that you might know, and you still got those couple hundred to a point, you start relying on other people. We all know that the DDGM and DDGLs in their district, when they're 3 years, that's a 3-year appointment, when their 3 years is up, they recommend some more people to take their place. I think they recommend 3. Some recommend less than that, but they're supposed to recommend 3 if they can. And then the Grandmaster picks one of those guys. And maybe he has time to call the guy and talk to, or all 3 of them and talk to him. I think the Grandmaster this year did, from what I've been told. But not only is that a lot of work, but what if the current DDGM or DDGL appointed 3 or nominated 3 guys and they weren't any good either? I've hired and fired a lot of people in my days of running my company, and I know this. Anybody can sit there and talk a good game for 10 minutes in a 10 or 15-minute interview. And when you're having to hire as many people as they have to hire, you can't do some long, well-vetted hiring process with a sit-down interview board when you got to run. If you're going to fill 150 positions, if you interview 3 for each one, that's 450 interviews. Well, that's not doable. You can't do it, right?
Right.
It's impossible. So, and on the same thing happens on committees. They probably ask around and say, hey, anybody that would be good on the education committee or on this committee or that committee. They'll ask their chairman, and sometimes they're getting good candidates nominated. Sometimes they're probably not getting the best candidates nominated. And there's just no way for them to know if the guys that they're getting recommended are the right guys. It'd be great if all 3 of the DDGMs nominated were perfect for the job, and he just had to pick the best of the 3. But the sad case is, based on the fact that we have some DDGMs that aren't as strong as other DDGMs, is that somewhere along the line they picked the wrong guy. And that's because if they were all 3 good ones and they picked the least worst one and he was still good, well, you're solid, you're okay. But if a couple of those guys are not the best guy, or if none of them, the 3 are the best guy, and you just take a stab and a guess and talk to the guy 10 minutes on the phone and he talked us a good game, you're like, man, okay, I guess this guy will be okay, and you nominate him. Then some districts stuck with a sucky DDGM for the next 3 years.
Right.
So, same thing on the committees, same exact story. They're picking committee members, and they probably don't even give them as much attention as they do a DDGM. If you're picking somebody from the library committee, you're probably not picking, paying as much attention to that. When you're down to your 178th pick, it's like the NFL draft, right? First round draft, there's lights and whistles, and they're playing music. Y'all walk-on music, 10 minutes between picks. They get down to 7th and 8th round, man, everybody's tired. All the GMs are sitting back there with their tie off, with their feet up on the desk saying, yeah, take that tight end from Boise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give him a shot. So what they tell me is the first thing that they need is a more solid pool to pull from. So how can they do that? Right now, they're taking recommendations. They're taking people they know. They're taking recommendations to interview, and they tell me that they look at Wilkerson College grads because they feel like, not that all Wilkerson College grads are great, but if a dude had enough commitment to go spend those 3 weekends and $600 to go, and he got that training, then he's got at least got a leg up on some dude that they don't even know.
How do you ever think it would ever get to a point where it'd be an application process, much like a job? I'm just thinking about this as...
Well, I hadn't thought about that.
Maybe there are guys out there that are really good and who really want to do this, that we're missing out on because somebody doesn't see them or somebody doesn't know them, just like we're talking about, because of the vetting process.
All right.
But if we had an application process, you get to you do your application process, you do an interview process,
yes,
and you provide references, and then those references are going to be the key.
Yes. I'm liking where you're going. Hold that thought and don't forget it. We're going to circle back to that in just a minute. I'll tell you how we can implement that into what I've got, and it's a great idea. So how are we going to get them a better pool to pull from is the first thing. And I think the answer is this. I think that we need to have a class that guys can go to that's like to put them in the pool. So what would you want guys to know that are in the pool? Well, ultimately you want somebody that knows everything about the Grand Lodge and how it works, and they've been the master of their lodge, and they're successful, and everybody likes them, and they're tall and handsome. You want them to be the total package, right? But for the most part, if you could just teach them this, if you could have a class that teaches them about the Grand Lodge and how the Grand Lodge works. Because even if you're going on the library committee, it'd be nice if you knew a little bit about the jurisprudence committee and kind of what it does, where you fit in the structure of things, in the corporate org chart, where you fit, and kind of what all those things do. So if you're going to be in the pool to be a committee member, you need to know a little bit about what all the committees do and a little bit about what DDGMs do. No, we know that they come once a year and make a show, and we write it in a book, and everybody pats them on the back and they go home. But I mean, what are their duties? And that's all written in the code. All you got to do is read it, right? But nobody, but people aren't doing that. How many people do that? Well, us, but I mean, but most folks don't. So if you could teach them a little bit about everything, the whole corporate look at Freemasonry, and let them, so they've got an overall scope of what all these positions are, then they know a little bit more than a lot of guys that are getting put on committees and becoming DDGMs and DDGLs. They just don't know. What kind of commitment is this to be on a committee or to be a DDGM or DDGL? So if they had this, I think you could structure a class that lets them know, so if they go to the class, you make them register for the class. So that's your application right there. They turn in an application. It doesn't mean they're going to get picked for anything. They may not get picked for anything, but at least it throws them in a pool where they know the Grands are going to be looking. The Grands are going. So the Grands would call up this entity that runs this thing, and we could do it with Davey. We've given some thought to it. Right now, we're just so bogged down in trying to get the basic stuff going that this may be, next year or the next year's project if we do it under Davey. Or the Education Committee could run this as a separate class, or some Grandmaster could start up some total separate entity. But you have, we'll call it the Talent Pool Club or something like that, and you apply just like you would to Wilkerson College. You'll apply, and you have to get accepted. And
they just say DDGM.
No, to go to this class that tells
I think
you
should
about.
Have an application process to be those.
Okay, well, all right, you're getting ahead of me. So all this is doing is creating a talent pool.
Right.
A talent pool.
Okay.
So you have to apply to go to the talent pool school. That's what we'll call it, the talent pool school.
Yeah,
talent pool
three
school.
times.
Talent pool school. So you apply and you go to that, and it shows that you're interested.
Right.
You're probably willing to spend some money. We'll charge for this thing, maybe.
And you're educated.
And you get a base of education, and at least know some stuff. Some stuff.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is we decide to teach them. I'm sure somebody
at least got the basics.
Yep. So that gives them a pool to pull from. So then, right now, what happens? Let's talk about DDGMs, DDGLs for a minute. Then we'll come out and talk about committees. So even though there's not a talent pool school to pull from that right now, they're just pulling from the general population. They're pulling together, guys to be DDGMs and DDGLs. They at least have some training for them. Grandmaster Caudle started 2 years ago, and Grandmaster Webster continued having this thing where they go to either Oxford, just like Wilkerson College. They either go to Oxford or to Whitestone or to the Grand Lodge. Each year they meet at one of those 3 locations, and you go and they talk about DDGM and DDGL stuff. Here's what I'm pushing this year. This is kind of my my agenda. This is the thing that I'm big on. Here's some things to do, just some training, some general training.
Sure.
Haven't been a DDGM or DDGL, but I got to go to these things, or I got to go to the one last year, because one of the things that they teach them is about Masonic education. So the chairman of the Grand Lodge Masonic Education Committee goes up and says, here's what the Grand Lodge education guys have to offer for your lodges. And so they want them to take that message back, right? But they got all these different entities. The Oxford folks talk to them, and the Whitestone folks, and me, and I don't know who all else. But they're giving them some training. I just think it probably could be, more structured. It's only in its second year. But I think it could be more of a curriculum that you're going to teach DDGMs and DDGLs rather than a series of briefings. I think you could give them, more well thought out, definitive training than the series of briefings they're getting now, which is light years ahead of what they were getting before Grandmaster Caudle's year, which wasn't much. I think they had I don't know how they communicated with them then. Maybe they had some great program that I don't know about, but I think this thing is starting to take structure and shape, starting with 2 years ago. But I think you could just continue that and make it a more professional, curriculum-driven training. At the same time, the committee members need the same exact thing, right? So guys are going on committees, and they get that piece of paper. So here's the way that works. The Grand Master at some point talks to some dude, says, hey, dude, I would like for you to be on the Grand Lodge Committee on Masonic Education. Will you do that? Yes, I'd be honored to, sir. Great. You'll get a piece of paper. You get a piece of paper from, they nominate you, put you on the committee. You get a piece of paper from the Grand Secretary's office in January or so saying you're on this committee. If you accept, sign this paper, and you send it back in. And oftentimes you don't hear anything at all, either at all or for a long time. Again, some of the committees do a very good job probably. I know I do. We have monthly meetings by go-to meeting. I communicate with those guys pretty regularly. Some more than others, but depending on what they're working on. But some of those committees are not doing that. You don't necessarily get a welcome from the chairman. You don't get any training. Nobody lays out the agenda. Nobody tells you specifically what we expect you to do.
Or what the committee does.
Or what the committee does. How much budget we have, what we're going to spend our money on, what things we're trying to develop, and what I want you to do in this process. They don't get all that. They also don't hear from the Grand Master. The chairman may, and I guess it's his job then to parlay that into down to his people. But I think it'd be nice to hear a message maybe from the Grand Master. So I think you could have some sort of structured, curriculum-driven training for the guys that have been picked from the talent school pool. Once they get actually picked for a committee or to be a DDGM or DDGL, then you have training for them, and you have them in clearly understanding what it is that their committee is doing and their role in that. Where we're going, what we're doing, what you're going to do to help us. And I think the way to do that is to do it all in one day. What if, Riley, we had a day when he asks you to be on a committee and you say yes, he says, great, the Grand Secretary's office will be in touch, they're going to send you a piece of paper to sign. And you need to commit to be at training on January 15th. That's going to be our committee and DDGM training day. And you get a venue, and you bring all the committee chairmen in and all the committee members in. They're going to have to come on their own dime. We can't afford to pay all of them to come up there, I don't think.
But they have,
and I don't know where you would get it. I don't know where you would have it. I don't know how many of those guys there are. You may have to have a couple of days. You may have to have a couple of days.
You could break it down into your zones or your regions, like you're talking about.
Mike could do that. Somehow get them all together and say, and then break. The Grandmaster delivers a message. Thank you for serving on whatever committee you people are on. Appreciate you being here. Here's the overall theme that we're going to have this year. Here's what I'm going to push. Be good, diligent members. Appreciate you being here. If you don't do your job, we're going to fire you. Something along those lines. No, nobody ever wants to fire anybody, but in Ben's world, that's what Ben would do.
So, I like the idea. I like the idea.
Even if you didn't have the one day where and then you go to your breakout sessions. You go to breakout sessions, and then your committee chair takes his committee into a room and gives their specific speech. Okay, he was talking about what we're going to do in North Carolina. Here's specifically how our committee fits into the plan.
Yeah.
Here, and shake the man's hand and look him in the eyeball and welcome him to the committee and give him the lapel pin and the secret handshake and a high five and here's what we're going to do and here's how we're going to do it and here's going to be your part in it. Even if we didn't have one day, because the more I think about it, that's a great idea, but logistically it may be difficult. You could still have each committee do that. Each committee needs to meet in person at the first of the year so they know what each other looks like. And they lay out the agenda.
I'm with you.
How can you not do that?
No, I'm with you. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's probably much easier than what I'm thinking about. I'm saying let's move over just a little bit and think about if there were an application process solely for DDGMs and DDGLs, and that application process was weighted. We talked about universities and community colleges. If we approached it from the fact that you're taking your education and you're trying to get into a position just like a job, or you're trying to get from an RN degree to a BSN degree. Mm-hmm. If we had an application process and we weighted it because we're throwing out the university and community college, we've got Wilkerson College, we've got the Davie Academy that are coming up, application may be weighted. We might have somebody who's attended one or the other. Mm-hmm. Or both, or all these boot camps, the old boot camps that you're changing. Oh. So if you've got somebody who puts in an application, we're changing a couple of scenarios. One, the Grand Master's not having to run around or go with his guys and say, we got to find somebody to do this, and, well, I like this guy over here, he's probably good. Because going back to just what you said, guys are falling through the cracks that are super qualified and are eager.
Yeah.
They're the Tony Rathbones. They're the Randy Brownings. The U's, the Shones, anybody, but they're falling through the cracks. But if we had an application process, and yes, it's going to be more work on the end, but if we broke it down into regions or zones, each region or zone had a interview team, and say they picked one weekend, just like you're talking about. They bring everybody together, all your applicants together in that zone or region. One Saturday, we did 30-minute to an hour interviews with each person. And then again, the application's weighted on, because it's a good thing to find out how well is your Davie Academy and Wilkerson College doing if you've got DDGMs applying that said, I've been to both. I'm graduates of both.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there. I think you could put it in Maury. I've never seen Maury. I've heard lots talking about it. I don't have access to it. I've never even seen what the screen looks like. But I know it's got all their, hey, get on, cat. I know it's got their, hang on, stand by. Okay. I know it's got their, demographic information. I know Mac Sigmund goes in and puts all the Wilkerson College graduates. He puts a thing in there that says attended Wilkerson College 2015. Sure. But if you assigned a score onto that of 1, and Davie Academy was a score of 1, and if you had been a DDGL or a DDGM, you get or if you've been on a committee, past master, you score all those. Then the Grand Master could say, if he's looking at a dude, he could call up, he could just pull up Maury and say, what's his weighted score?
Well,
he's a 15, and this other guy's a 3.
Then say you narrow it down to X amount of applicants, and then comes the interview. Then you get to look the guy in the face like you're talking about. You've either got somebody of power sitting on that interview team, at least one person.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has to be a Graham, but somebody, of weight.
Yeah.
And they say, tell me why you want to do this.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, man, I love that. And you could have their weighted score. Then that's not the only thing. The interview is a portion of if you're going to hire them or not. You could have them do that. You could look at their weighted score. You add all those things together, and you start to develop more of a profile of somebody.
Because it's hard.
And by applying, then they at least
you're showing interest.
Want to do it.
That's what I'm saying. You're showing interest.
And it doesn't make them any better than anybody else.
It's just saying, hey, I want to do it.
But not somebody's been begged and pleaded into doing it.
And the whole thing that I'm thinking about this, and again, I'm using Tony a lot here, and because I like you a lot, Tony. But I think we met Tony because of Sophia and some different things that he started showing up to. Mm-hmm. But what if Sophia would have never happened? Mm-hmm. Then we would have never found Tony. I mean, now Tony's one of those success stories. He's going to rise to the top anyway.
Yeah.
But it might have been longer before he made it to the circles and our circles before we ever knew who Tony Rathbone was. But if you've got application processes for certain things, and it doesn't have to be just DDGM, it could be anything of weight, just for young guys and even older guys to say, hey, I meet all these qualifications and I would really like a chance to do something like this. Because I think a lot of those guys are overlooked throughout each year. Because, we all know we've seen really good ones and we've seen really bad ones.
Yeah. You could do it for your committee chairs at least.
Yeah.
Because there's not that many of them. I don't know how many committees they've got. Or how many people are on each one. They don't. When you become Grand Master, I want your first edict to be, I want you to put up on the Grand Lodge website all the committees and the members of them. So if I want to talk to jurisprudence, I can know who the chairman is and who the members are. I may want to go talk to one of them about something. I like to know who they are. I like for guys to know who my education committee guys are, so that if they want to talk about education stuff and they can't get a hold of me, that they can go talk to them.
No, I completely agree. I think that should definitely be something that's at least on the website for people to see who are on these committees, because they don't know. They might have questions, but there might be a guy right down the road at the lodge down the road that you didn't even know was on a committee.
It's not a secret, is it?
No, not that I know of. I don't know.
Why? I don't know. Why don't we have those
but
posted up somewhere?
I'm sure if it is, Walt's going to call us tomorrow and tell us. Or at least when we post.
Call Brown. Yeah. All complaints go through
Talk to our advisor.
I think we're on to something here, I don't know. I think what you could do is take this idea, if they're for it, if they generally like the idea of some of if they like 60% of what we talked about tonight, I think it'd be easy enough to form a strategic thinking committee and say, hey, look, look at doing something like this.
Yeah, because I'm just curious.
And develop a couple of different plans and spit them out to us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious, out of each year when we select or they select the DDGMs and DDGLs, how many people are just saying, kind of like they do in certain lodges, I really don't want to, but I mean, if you can't find anybody, I'll do it.
I know dang well that was the case in our district time before last, when we had,
I think we could fix that problem. Or at
certainly
least
help it.
Make a dent in it anyway.
And I don't think it'd be that hard to do. So just to review, all we're talking about doing is having, a pool school that guarantees you nothing but gets you some training and shows some interest, and then have an application process if you want to be DDGM, DDG. Make them at least apply, and have some sort of weighted system of what their Masonic credentials are. And I don't see how that's that hard. I think we can do it. Can we do it?
Yeah, man. You do it now with Wilkerson College presenters.
Yeah, we do.
You vet them.
Yeah, and we did Davie Academy staff members too. We interviewed every one of them. Of course, I mean, there aren't, we only had, I don't know how many guys we got. We probably got,
then answer
probably
this
got 30 guys. But
then answer this. For Wilkerson College, we'll just pick on Wilkerson College for a second. Do you, as part of the education, do you go to guys that are you are thinking about presenters and say, we really want you to do this, and the guy says, I really don't know, I really don't want to, but I mean, I guess if you want me to, I mean, I kind of will, I mean, if you want me to. I really rather not. Do you want that presenter?
Oh, no, we don't take that guy.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we don't take that guy.
There you go. So I'm just saying, we do it now in certain areas. And it's catching on. I think you've done a great job in doing that. And I know you've got a lot of people, and I'm not saying you're the sole person who's doing this. You have an awesome several teams that you're a part of, and I see this trickling down. That's the only reason I'm saying it just hadn't got that way. I see it in some of the other forms and groups that you're doing, but I think it's great. I mean, you guys are starting to vet people to ensure that, you know, the craft is sound.
I like it. And I know that they want to do it. They don't want, no Grandmaster wants to appoint a dude that's going to suck at his job.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. I mean, they said it's just hard when you got that many, so they need a way to find talent. And then that's what they talked to me about, a way to find talent. I'm just taking it a step further and say once you find them, you need to train them.
Your Speakers Bureau.
Yeah.
You do it on Speakers Bureau.
Yeah.
What kind of success you had there? How many guys you got on Speakers Bureau now?
I don't know.
A bunch.
Probably 22, 24.
A bunch. Since you just started it. I mean, not too long, terribly long ago.
Yeah, first of the year.
Same way, vetting process. You got guys that came to you, I really want to do this. This is what I teach. Here's some information on me, and then you've got guys who are vetting them in the background, saying, "Okay, we got to look over this guy. Here's somebody. He turned in an application."
Yep, we send somebody to go listen to them before we let them do it.
Boom.
Yeah, so I think it'll work. All right, let's leave that behind.
All right.
All we're saying is, if they want to look at if some of the people that wear purple are interested in doing this, we're here to help.
That's right.
One way or another, we'll help them. All right. Randy Browning sat right there last night, and so what we do when we're here at the tractor shed and we're with our buddies and we're just shooting the breeze about masonry, we wind up complaining about a lot of stuff, right? Same old stuff we complain about all the time, lodges that suck and, how we can make it better and this kind of stuff right here. And Randy, we were coming up with some solutions, spitballing some solutions just like we're doing here. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it'll work. I don't think it'll help. And Randy pointed his finger at me last night. He'll never do that. He pointed his finger at me and he said, yes, it will. Yes, it will. It's a slow, methodical process, but yes, it'll work. We were talking about, I think we were talking about helping the Blue Lodges. We had some plan to help the Blue Lodges. And it just reminded me, I saw somebody talking about this whole mess that we've had going on in our country. I was watching an interview, and I think it was the mayor of Atlanta, but I'm not sure. I'd like to give credit to this person, but I can't remember who they were. And this interviewer was presenting them with a question that there was no good answer to. And it was something about the relations between, the African American community and the police. And reporters are good at this. They can tell you a question. He was telling him a question and putting him in a position where he couldn't answer. And the dude just looked at him and he said, leaders always bring a message of hope. Leaders always bring a message of hope. And what he was saying was, I'm not going to sit here and agree with you that things are completely screwed up in our nation. I have hope and faith.
It'll be a better day.
That there's going to be a better day, and it's not as bad as you're saying. All this doom and gloom. Not only is it not as bad as you're saying, but it's getting better. No, I don't think everything's lost. But the idea that leaders bring a message of hope is exactly what Randy was saying last night when he pointed his finger at me and was kind of admonishing me for being negative, and because Randy's a leader, And the reason I told this story is because it was kind of profound for me, because I'm always the guy saying, I'm always trying to say, quit bitching about your problems and go fix them. With a little faith and work, you can fix stuff. You just got to quit complaining, and you've got to get up and work and believe, and you can do it. But here I was last night complaining, and Randy kind of turned the table right back on me, just like this guy did. So to all the leaders out there, to all the listeners of this show, and all the guys that I know that are making a difference in Masonry, that get frustrated and get down with the problems we've got, I'm here to tell you that things aren't as bad just because we're sitting around complaining about things. North Carolina's got it really good. And Freemasonry's in a really good place right now. And Freemasonry is in a unique position to be a leader in our society right now in healing and mending. And you specifically have a part in that on a national front. And you have it all the way down to your Blue Lodge, to the two grumpy guys that aren't getting along in your lodge. Be positive. Don't get sucked into being negative all the time. Be the dude that brings solutions. Be the guy that heals wounds, that brings guys together, that uses good language. Not the guy sitting over there complaining and moaning about how screwed up everything is.
That's right. And for the listeners, we're not saying that everything's screwed up, and
and
we're not complaining all the time. We're merely saying that we are very lucky to be in our state and have forward thinkers and in our Grand Line. Right. We're just thinking the ways that we could be better. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. We're not saying that we're flawed by any means. But everybody's flawed. Everybody knows that, and every group is. But we're just thinking of ways that we can make it better. And we know that there are guys that are out there that want to make it better with us.
Yeah. Sometimes you're trying to fix a problem and you find yourself just complaining.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Identifying problems is fine. Work on solutions and be positive and bring a message of hope. Let's run out of here, Brown. What do you think?
Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Masonian. For more information and productions, please visit and like our Facebook page at 357 Productions or 357productions.net. You may also email us at 357productionsteam@gmail.com. Again, that is 357productionsteam@gmail.com. As always, tell people that you love them, and remember, we meet on the level and part on the square.